I don't want to hate the show. I'm a big, Tolkien fan. I want a good.
That's
Tolkien
why you hate
show.
the show.
I want a good Tolkien show. I wanted it to be good. I really did,
Well,
and I've been trying to be constructive about the things I like about it, and there are things I like about it. It's just that the mistakes are so big and so terrible. Nothing about that battle scene makes any sense. There's no stakes. There's no setup.
Yeah.
It's all done arse-faced back to front. The editor must have had a nightmare putting that together. He must have been getting footage and going, none of this makes any sense. What am I supposed to do with this? Like when the woman gets gunned down by all the arrows, all coming from different directions. Where are the orcs that are firing those? Why are we not cutting to the orcs that are targeting her at least to show where they are? Somehow targeting this woman in this battle that's taking place in a riverbed where people should be sinking because
you know what
water.
You know what that Archer scene was? They were just going, "Oh, well, Sean Bean had a good death, didn't he?" That's all that was.
That's all it was. Because, like, Snarky, have you seen the Lord of the Rings trilogy at all?
I don't know if y'all remember the first time I was on here, I got flamed for saying that I have not seen Lord of the Rings.
It's been a while.
You could have watched it since then, right?
Yeah.
I could have, and somehow I didn't. Somehow I've seen all of Agatha all along, and I haven't seen this.
The best way to look at this show is like it's trying to rip off all the big moments, the coolest lines of dialogue, the most epic character beats and stuff of that trilogy, but it's shit. It's like if the writers of Agatha all along were put in charge of Captain America and the Winter Soldier or something. Like it's that level of incompetence, and so it's kind of hilarious and tragic at the same time because this is what we're having to endure as fans of the books, I suppose, and the movies. A show made by idiots for idiots, probably. Like there's got to be the target audience. And yeah, it is just constantly like ripping off things that have been done far better already. And that's the sad thing about it.
Not even doing a good job of ripping them off. Like the Charge of the Rohirrim, they get all those horses and then suddenly somebody does a word command of stop, like the 200 people can hear that over there. Mm-hmm. And horses don't just stop, Have you ridden on a horse before? One guy commanding a wave of 1,000 horses. The horses at the back are not going to hear that. Yeah, I know elves have got sensitive hearing.
And they stop in a perfectly straight line from a triangular formulation. I don't even know how that works.
I'm gonna have to say this as well.
About 6 feet from the enemy, not
they
like
freeze.
50 feet. It's about 6 feet away. I mean, it's
you know what I love. You know what I love about that whole scene as well, right? The shot where it's like the two opposing armies are about 6 feet apart, like the cavalry have all stopped and the orcs are on the other side, and the fucking sunlight is just shining down on the elves, and then on the orc side it's just like dark. Like how does that even work?
Does
the arc
follow them around wherever they go?
Drinker, you understand? That's a shitty misunderstanding copy of the Helm's Deep fight's big old payoff at the end with Gandalf and the Rohirrim.
I know exactly.
That's what so much of it is. When you just look at it through a prism of a child watching Helm's Deep and be like, "I want that," then
so it's repeat. Like sunlight follow bright horses. Yay!
I don't know if I've ever seen in my entire fucking life the armies have negotiations while the sack is simply continuing.
Yeah,
the whole place is burning down, and they're just like, "So, Tim's."
Yeah,
So
what's going on?
I'm gonna because it's actually good that Snarky's here because she could try and like see this from an outsider's perspective, right? So imagine you've got like this city that you have to defend, like it's real important, right? And you've got loads of like all your allies are in there and stuff, and it's besieged by a giant army of orcs, right? And you come in on your cavalry, right? And you're like, I'm gonna fuck these orcs up. Like big time, and just as you're approaching them, they've got like this cage right at the front of their army. They whip back the cover on it, and oh no, they've got one of your best friends there as hostage, right? So somehow you just say like stop, and then it brings all this like thousands of cavalry to a halt because you can definitely do that with horses that are charging, right? And then you go off and have a negotiation with the commander of that army while they're still besieging this city, right? And the conversation goes something like this. we've got your friend here, and we're going to totally kill her if you don't leave. And then you go, well, we're going to mess you up anyway. And then they let you leave with the woman still like held hostage, and there's nothing really resolved by any of that, and you just kind of go on your way. That's what happens in this episode. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Is that actually like, that's not an exaggeration?
No,
that's essentially the way this story or the way this dialogue plays out. I don't understand what they're hoping to accomplish with it.
They don't even show how that battle sort of picks up again. It's like they show the orcs kind of snarling at the leader as he's leaving, and he's going, "Oh dear, they look a bit angry.
Oh yeah,
maybe I should move a bit faster."
No, but you know what's even better?
You know?
Walking away from that negotiation with like one of your second in command, right? While you're surrounded by like all these orcs that can totally hear everything you're saying, and going, man, we be fucked because they outnumber us 10-1, and there's no way we're going to be able to defeat them. And then you saying, don't worry, there's an army of dwarves that are totally going to come help us at dawn. That'll be the thing that makes the difference. While they're around you and they can hear everything you say.
Yeah, it's not even that whole conversation's not even done in Elven. They keep switching to English for the key tactical points. Like they're, by the way, orcs, in case you want to know what we're up to, here's our plan. I mean, it's like an episode of Scooby-Doo where the bad guy's like, "Oh, I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you meddling orcs." You know, it's just it's so poor.
It sounds like it's a Saturday morning cartoon and not what I know of Lord of the Rings.
It's a Saturday morning cartoon made with $1 billion budget.
That's insane.
That's essentially what you're dealing with here.
They truly bet everything on that reveal as well. Because when I was watching it with Fringy, he was like, "Where are their archers? Why are they like getting their spears ready?" Sort of shit. And I was like, because I saw the box coming. I was like, "Oh, Galadriel's in the box." And he's like, why would that wouldn't change anything? And I was like, yeah, but she's in the box. She's coming in the box.
What's in the box?
And then they do, and they all just the stop. It's funny because there's so many absurd moments, but that one is definitely one of the highlights of just what the fuck just happened. Why did this happen?
Wouldn't it be better to just keep on charging, kill all the orcs around her, and then just rescue her from the box?
Yeah.
When they show it and they've got like a knife from it, I honestly, if I were leading the charge, would have been like, "Fuck it, all right, everyone, try and not trample Galadriel, but get in there." Yeah,
you know,
I mean, it's like this is a battle for essentially the fate of the world. And
also,
like
that was the leader, just right there. Could have killed him. Could have. Also, you would have smashed that orc selection because none of them were prepared. I guess they were all told the elves will stop. There is no need to prepare for anything other than that. Which is just stupid as well, but whatever.
So, I mean, none of that makes sense. But the bigger problem I think I have with this whole episode, it's all based around the battle for this city, right? And it's so... There's no real sense of the progression of the battle. I didn't really get a sense of like which side is winning or losing. I didn't know who was gaining ground because most of it takes place at night where it's just a bunch of confused fighting. And it's just, it doesn't mean anything because I don't know who's gaining ground or what.
No, there's no sense of tactics or tactical positions either. By the way, you know, when they do that damn thing, right? And this whole city is in front of a massive mountain. So if your super trebuchet can reach all the way over there, about 5 miles, why don't you just fire it directly at the mountain that's above the city and cause a massive avalanche to come down on all the defenders? It's just nonsense, you know, because all the things they create for that battle don't make any physical or logical sense, even in a fantasy setting.
What was the point of the troll guy as well?
Because like 3 guys took him down.
They hyped the shit out of that guy, and then he did absolutely nothing and then just died.
Did you like his death cry, Drinker? Wasn't that so like meaningful and effective?
It just made me think of Christopher Walken in that fucking Bond movie. What was it?
View to a Kill. When he's
when he's hanging off the bridge, right? And he fucking laughs and then falls off.
Yeah, it was.
It was like that.
Well, so you know when they're like, "Everyone make way, bring him in," and he starts coming, and they're all like, I was just like, well, you guys can handle that. This is a troll. You can do that.
Just keep shooting him with loads and loads of arrows, and eventually he'll go down.
You guys have got the tools to deal with this. Actually, you could do it, but they treat it as though it was some huge deal, and then several people stab it and it dies. And I was like, "Yep."
Arundel actually knocks him over just by jumping at him. He just falls straight back as if Arundel weighs like a metric ton or something. It was the most bizarre thing I've seen.
Yeah, it'd be like a hamster leapt off a table and like hit you in the chest. Like, I don't think you're going to fall over somehow. Like,
Yeah. Elves so light they can walk across snow without sinking. But Arundel, no, he can control his weight.
is he dead? By the way, clarify that for me.
Well,
Because-
he's been talking about season 3, and he said, we will be really grateful to go into a season 3. So I don't think he is.
Unfortunately, though, I thought it was pretty funny how unceremonious it was. Of just he's on the battlefield, killed somebody, he's dead, and then we go to it's like, wait, what? Like, what would you just? I thought because I don't care about him, right? But the fact
You're
that he's
talking
had
about
so much...
the elf leader guy, right? That comes on with the big spear. I just there was no emotional investment.
No. It's
The
like
archer.
Don Lemonlass.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the elf that comes on and Adar kills him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that bit I cheered. I cheered at that bit. That bit I was because that character just is.
Yeah, no, he's
nothing
lame as
character.
fuck, and he's got no purpose in the story. So I get all
Well,
the
they
reasons
deleted
to kill
him from
him,
most of the story.
but simultaneously, I was like, you guys know how to tell a story, right? You just they just completely ignored getting a boss fight. He just kills
because
him. I was like,
you should have been completely invested in him in that moment if this had been done right. And the grand story of this show is not a bad idea. The creation of the rings, Sauron setting people against each other and setting them up. That as a concept is quite strong. It's just that the storytelling building blocks don't exist in this show. And the thing that annoys me about it so much as someone that works in the industry is a lot of people, and we're talking thousands, have worked really hard on this show. You can see it in areas like the production design, the costume, the makeup. There is some.
I wouldn't say the
talent.
costumes, mate.
Some of them. Look at them. You know, the horse armor and stuff like that. I think it's pretty good.
The only armored part of the horse is where the soldier sits. It's really quite weird.
Well,
Like,
so,
the entire breastplate doesn't exist, but they've got armor all the way down the horse's back where they're sitting.
yeah. Well, but there is a lot. There is a lot of talent that have worked on the show. You know, people have worked very hard on it, and I just think it's a shame because the combined elements were there for something really fantastic, but it's just lost cohesion and it's really sloppy. And I just don't know how this became. After the first season, you would have thought someone would have really pulled the reins in on this because so much is at stake.
This was mostly written before the show even released. So they said they didn't take any customer kind of reviews or anything. It didn't affect it at all because it was already written.
Right. I didn't know. So that's interesting.
That's the impression I've gotten from watching the season. A lot of people say, like, is it better or worse than season 1? It's like, I don't know. It fits quite well in with season 1 for me in terms of quality. I don't see a huge difference here. Like, it was awful.
It's more of the same, I would say.
Yeah.
The weirdest part was the marketing. How they were like, no, this right from the get-go. It's all action. It really kicks off. We dive straight into the story. It was like they knew what people wanted. And then the entire show is something totally different than they were marketing. It was really slow for episode after episode.
Loads of action is useless if you're not emotionally invested in the people taking part in it. If you don't care,
It's better
who
than them
lives or
talking, though.
dies, you know, if there's no stakes, action
Well,
is irrelevant.
The example you gave was like the fight between Arondir and Adar, right? If that was properly built up, you would be super invested. Like, yeah, get in there, fucking kick his ass. Like, it's about time.
Yeah.
But in this, I kind of forgot the reason why he was even mad at him. And wanted to kill him.
Yeah, that had all gone completely out of my head. It just wasn't cemented in the story at all. I know we've changed actors with Adar, and I think actually Sam Hazeldene's done a brilliant job in that role, taking that role over. But you know,
Can we? I also want to say, right, what is with this show constantly? Like, if you've got a prisoner who's super important to your cause, leaving them unguarded or like so weakly protected that like they can just escape easily. It's like Dr. Evil shit going on.
it's a bit like the A-Team, isn't it?
twice within this episode, right? Galadriel is left pretty much unguarded so she can unlock herself from the cuffs because, Elrond gave her the lockpick thing. And Celebrimbor is left completely unguarded. And you've got the master metalsmith of the entire elven race manacled, right? I'm pretty sure he can figure out some way to get out of it.
I think Celebrimbor is guarded by Iluvatar, though. Every single time he stepped out of that tower, he immediately got hit by a flying rock. That is like God himself hated him. It happened twice.
Also,
Yeah,
I like that you said
yeah.
that, Drinker. I was getting mad when he had the manacle on, and it's like, you've got the greatest smith of all time in a forge with that. You really think he's going to be able to... And he doesn't come up with a smith way of actually getting out of it. I was like,
he
you
hits him with a
fucking
hammer.
kidding me?
Thumb off.
Yeah, he tried hitting it with a hammer. The master smith hit you with a fucking hammer. Like,
Well, I'm out of ideas.
Plus, hasn't he got all these kind of cool rings that can do shit? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
there's
mean,
no fucking way Sauron just planted like an impossible to manipulate metal on Celebrimbor. Let's say fuck off. Christ.
Yeah.
Turns into Thanos and just puts on all 9 rings at the same time.
I was wondering about that. I was like, would he be able to like blast Sauron with a laser if he did that?
I am Sauron now.
Yeah. Yeah, and like with Galadriel, it's like, okay, I know the rules of modern writing dictate that she's not going to get rescued. She has to save herself because we know why. How's it going to happen? Okay, Elrond fucking snogs her, even though she's actually his mother-in-law in the books. And then I guess that's how he sneaks her the little brooch pin thing that she can then use to pick her cuffs. And then I just about tore my brain out of my head watching this. So she's walking through the orc encampment with a hood over her head, and none of them cotton on to the fact that she's a fucking elf. Like they just like let her go on her way.
that was
And
A
ridiculous.
dog in front of her at one point.
That was funny.
They even like get her to help with
the
like
fucking-
lifting dead bodies into a funeral pyre. Like no one notices that she's like got blonde hair and
scene-
she's got like a human face.
They
the
can also
retarded orc.
they could have smelled her.
Says like, oh, your hair's pretty, and then stares at her for about 3 seconds. And I was like, yeah, she's clearly not an orc, man. What are you- what?
It's not like she covers herself in orc blood or something like
Yeah.
that. And it's
No, I
not The
can't do
Walking
that.
Dead where you're trying to pretend to be a zombie. Orcs can smell. They know the different smell between humans and elves.
Well-
That's all been established in this world. So
Even Sam and Frodo, like they disguise themselves because they put on like face coverings, like masks, and all that. Like, and it's okay. It's still a bit bullshitty, but like you can definitely see them blend in a little bit better.
they
This,
imitated the way they walked and
Well, and they've been on the road
Yeah.
for how long at that point? You can argue like there's a lot of things they do to make
They
that
would
more
reek.
believable.
they would
but-
reek at that point. They haven't had a good shower for quite a while by the time they get to Mount Doom. I think they would stink of orc by then.